Have you ever just stared into your kitchen trash bin after prepping a big meal? I mean, really looked at what's in there? We usually just see a pile of waste, right? The discarded ends of veggies, peels, roots, all headed straight for the landfill. But what if I told you that you're literally throwing away a completely free, endlessly renewable food source? Yes, seriously. Hidden right there in those scraps is what we like to call a zero V&D, or completely zero-cost garden, just waiting to sprout. It is ridiculously easy to coax those discarded roots and stems back into fresh, vibrant produce. You don't need a huge backyard. You don't even need to buy seeds. Welcome to this explainer. I am super pumped to dive into this source material with you today because honestly, it's like magic you can do right on your kitchen counter. We're going to see how to transform your everyday trash into absolute treasure by regrowing your daily veggies directly from the scraps you would normally toss out. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the veggie garden from kitchen scraps. Then, we'll unlock some hydroponic secrets, followed by natural root stimulation, transferring to soil, and finally, care and harvesting. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Veggie garden from kitchen scraps. Identifying the candidates. So, which veggies can actually pull off this regrowth trick? Well, you probably have half of these sitting in your fridge right now. If you're looking for the absolute fastest harvest, green onions and lettuce are your best friends. They practically grow right before your eyes. But the list goes on. You've got herbs like basil and cilantro, aromatics like garlic and lemongrass, and even tougher scraps like ginger, carrots, potatoes, and pineapple crowns. The whole secret? Just leave a few centimeters of the base or the root intact when you're chopping them up for dinner. Moving into Section 2, hydroponic secrets, setting the foundation in water. Now, starting these scraps in water is great, but here is a massive pro tip for your hydroponic setup. If you are using municipal tap water, you absolutely must let it sit out overnight before dropping your plant scraps in. Why? Well, tap water usually contains chlorine. It's great for killing bacteria in our drinking water, but it will totally scorch the incredibly fragile new roots your veggies are trying to push out. Just letting it sit overnight allows that chlorine to completely evaporate. Another huge pitfall? Rotting. Take green onions or garlic, for instance. If you just submerge the whole bulb or base entirely in water, it's just going to turn to mush. No way around it. Instead, use the suspension hack. Cut a plastic bottle top or just pierce the sides of your veggie with toothpicks. Suspend it so that only the very bottom, where the roots actually emerge, touches the water. The roots will naturally reach down for a drink while the main body stays nice and dry to prevent any rot. All right, Section 3, natural root stimulation, the DIY hormone. This is where things get really fascinating. You can actually whip up a highly effective DIY hydroponic rooting hormone for free. Seriously. By soaking red onions and bean sprouts in water, you extract these incredible natural hormones. If you've got stubborn, tough scraps, think a pineapple crown or a thick stalk of lemongrass, just dip them into this homemade solution for about 5 to 20 minutes. Not only does it act as a natural fungicide to kill off rot-causing bacteria, but it's basically an explosive growth accelerator that forces those roots out fast. On to Section 4, transferring to soil, the Great Migration. So, keeping a lettuce base in a simple water cup is a clean, super fast start. But let's compare hydroponics to soil for a second. If you leave that plant in water indefinitely, you've got to change that water every 2 days so it doesn't go sour. Plus, the plant's ultimate size will be severely limited. If you want sustained long-term growth and those big, heavy, continuous yields that can actually feed you, transitioning your scraps into soil is absolutely vital. But listen, you can't just toss them into any old dirt. To ensure they thrive, you need a loose, breathable ratio. The ideal zero-cost mix is 4 parts old, used soil, 1 part rice husk or cocoa coir for aeration, and 1 part earthworm castings for nutrition. Oh, and here's a quick heads up. If you do use cocoa coir or rice husk, make sure you thoroughly wash and pre-treat it first to remove the natural tannins. Otherwise, it can totally stunt your plant's growth. You'll also want to add a tiny trace of something called trichoderma. If you're wondering what the heck that is, it's basically an antagonistic beneficial fungus. Think of it as a microscopic bodyguard for your plants. You mix it into the soil and it fights off the bad bacteria, making absolutely sure your fragile little kitchen scraps don't catch soil-borne diseases or rot once they transition to that damp dirt. Which brings us to Section 5, care and harvesting, the unending cycle. When it's time to water your newly potted plants, don't just reach for the tap. Try this brilliant traditional hack. Use your leftover rice washing water. That cloudy water you usually pour down the drain is literally packed with starches and vitamins. It acts as an incredible, entirely free nutrient boost that accelerates root development and keeps your soil ecosystem super happy. Now, when can you actually start eating? Well, this timeline manages your expectations pretty perfectly. Around day 4 in the water, you'll spot tiny green microsprouts. By day 15, you'll have strong root formation. That's your cue to transfer them to the soil. Fast forward to day 35, and fast growers like lettuce and green onions are ready for your salad bowl. Complex crops, like a celery base, might take closer to 120 days to reach full maturity. As they grow, they're going to get hungry, but you have to be careful about what you feed them, especially since you'll be eating them. Comparing earthworm castings to chemical NPK fertilizers, the organic castings win hands down for home gardens. They provide steady growth, and because they're 100% organic, you can harvest and eat your veggies immediately. If you use a chemical NPK fertilizer for a rapid boost, you are strictly required to wait at least 14 days after applying it before that harvest is safe to eat. Stick to the organic stuff, for sure. Okay, the real secret to all this? Sustainability. You want a continuous harvest. So only ever cut the outer leaves of your celery or lettuce and leave the core intact so it can regenerate endlessly. For green onions, snip them just above the soil line. Never ever pull the root up. Also, try applying a ring of soapy water around the rim of your pots. It stops snails dead in their tracks. And if you have exposed carrot roots, just dab a little liquid mud over them to prevent drying out or pest attacks. Speaking of carrots, here is a delightful little surprise to reward all your hard work. A lot of people regrow carrot tops just because the foliage looks pretty, totally unaware that those feathery green shoots are completely edible. They are highly nutritious and make a fantastic garnish or even a base for pesto. It's literally free food you probably didn't even know you had. So what does this all mean? It really makes you stop and wonder, doesn't it? If a single discarded green onion scrap or lettuce base can keep regenerating and feeding you for months on end with just a little water and soil, isn't it time we completely rethink what we consider waste? Honestly, how much of your grocery budget is just sitting out there, growing in the local landfill right now? Grab a cup of water, save that garlic clove tonight, and get your own zero-cost garden started. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.